Quran, Hadith, Ijma', etc. And they're able to then come up with a ruling they see fit. Ijtihad. That's why they call a person who's able to do ijtihad a mujtahid. And it's from jah, to exert yourself. Ijtahada, ijtahidu, ijtihadan, to exert yourself. So mujtahid, then you find different types of mujtahids of different levels. Some say you can have a mujtahid in a specific chapter only. So it could be in zakah, and it could be in salah, and it could be in wherever. Some say you have a mujtahid then in the madhab only. So inside the madhab, they don't come out of it. Then you find there's those who are mujtahid complete, they say mutlaq, and those are referring to people who look at the adillah, look at the different madhahib and try to make istinbat. Right, let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We carry on with Kitab al-Zakah. Khaybar, summarize for me in 2 sentences what we took yesterday.
Yesterday we took the rulings regarding horses when they
and we said there's no
breeding.
zakah. We said there's no zakah on horses, according to the majority of scholars. Who differed here? And the only reason I'm teaching you the difference, because the Imam, they mentioned his opinion. And what's his opinion? He says on horses, what did he say? You must pay either this or that.
So for breeding, you only pay zakah. And when you're using horses for breeding, if they're single, you don't. Single, if they're
how much zakah do you pay? How much zakah do you pay?
The value of fundamental.
You forgot? Alam Gheer, how much zakah do you pay? As a horse, according to Imam Abu Hanifa.
Sheikh, we if it's only one male or one female horse, then we don't pay any zakah.
Let's say there's zakah in that, okay, because there's different riwayah. Let's say, just say you either pay 1 dinar for every horse you have, or you take the value of the horses, and for every 200 dirhams you pay 5 dirhams. Simple. So it's either for every horse you pay 1 dinar, is a gold coin, or you look at the value of the horses. Whose mic is making noise? You look at the value of the horses, and for every 200 dirhams you'll give out 5. Okay, you give 5 dirhams. You understood that? Right. Related to horses, they speak about donkeys and mules. So we all know what's a donkey, and we all know what's a mule. A mule is a mix between a horse and a donkey. So here there's no zakah on those who keep donkeys and those who keep mules. And obviously this is even according to Imam Abu Hanifa. There's no zakah on those. Except, again, if they're keeping them for urud al-tijara. So a person is buying and selling mules, or a person is buying and selling donkeys. What's important to realize is that when it comes to donkeys, in the beginning of Islam, it was halal to eat. It's called humur al-ahliyah, which is a donkey. And humur wahshiyah are zebras. You know, the thing that looks like a horse, but it's got white and black stripes, a zebra. Those are halal to eat. It's called himar wahshi. So when you're reading through the books of fiqh and you see himar ahli and himar wahshi, you must know himar ahli is speaking about a donkey, and himar wahshi is speaking about a zebra. So at the beginning of Islam, you could eat all of them. Then eventually, in the hadith as mentioned, as far as I know, hadith Anas radiallahu anhu, where in one of the battles the people had started cooking and that, and then the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had told them that whoever's cooked donkey meat, then they must throw it all out. And from then it became impermissible. So humur al-ahliyah. However, when it comes to riding them, when it comes to keeping them, etc., then it's permissible. And as we know, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he rode a donkey. So horses, according to majority of scholars, there's no zakah. Imam Abu Hanifa has an opinion to say that you pay zakah on horses. As for mules and as for donkeys, there's no zakah on them. Another mas'ala that comes up is when you've got, another mas'ala that comes up is when we're speaking about giving zakah, right? The second mas'ala. At times a person has to pay, for example, bint labun. Okay. At times they have to pay bint makhat. At times they have to pay musin, or they have to pay tabi'. So sometimes what happens is the person may have, they may not have the exact animal they have to pay. So they pay that which is either more or less. And according to the Hanafi madhab, this is the Hanafi madhab because they are much more lenient when it comes to paying your zakah with money. So even if you're supposed to give goats and cows, they speak about daf'ul qima. They're much more lenient and they have a wider madhab. So what they say, for example, let's say a person has to pay bint labun, okay? And bint labun is how many years old, Khaybar? Bint labun is how many years old, Omar? 2.
2 years.
And we said these are more expensive. The older the camel gets, the more expensive it is. And bint makhad is 1 year old. So let's say this one is equal to, let's just put an easy figure on it, $1,000. Okay. And let's say this one is equal to $2,000. When the person comes to collect zakah, okay, if the person has a bint labun, but he's only supposed to pay bint makhad, right? He has the option of giving this bint labun, so he gives it, and then we look at the value of it. This is the Hanafi madhab. We look at the value of it. So the value that he's given is 2,000. He only owed, for example, bint makhad, which was 1,000. So then the one who's collecting the zakah should give him 1,000 back. So what's this? This is the first instance where the person paying the zakah, he's got that which is more in value than what he's supposed to pay. So he gives that which is more in value, and then he collects his remainder. He collects it in qima. It could also happen the opposite, where this person has to pay a bint labun. He has to pay this, for example, but he's only got bint makhad. Okay, bint labun here we've said is worth 2,000. Bint makhad is worth 1,000. This guy has to pay bint labun, which is equivalent to 2,000. However, he's only got this, which is equivalent to 1,000. So he can pay this, and he must also give 1,000. Did you understand? That's why I read for you in the Hanafi book what it says. It says, وَمَنْ وَجَبَ عَلَيْهِ سِنٌّ فَلَمْ تُوجَدْ أَخَذَ الْمُصَدِّقُ أَعْلَى مِنْهَا وَرَدَّ الْفَضْلِ. So if a person, a certain age group has become compulsory upon him, and he doesn't have it, then the person collecting the zakah can take that which is more expensive and return what's remaining, or the guy can give that which is less and pay that which he owes. What the scholars do mention is it's not up to the person collecting the zakah to choose. For example, he's also got some rules to follow. One of them is when he sees the animals, he's not supposed to take from the best of the animals. He's not supposed to take from the worst of the animals. He's supposed to take from somewhere in between. Why? Because if he takes the best of animals, then you would be oppressing the person who has wealth. And if he takes the worst of animals, you're supposed to give the poor people. So hence you would be oppressing them by giving them less than what they actually do. So we come to somewhere in the middle where it's just for everybody. You take out those which are somewhere in the middle. So for example, if a person has very expensive camels and extremely cheap camels, and somewhere in the middle, then we'll take from the middle. So those are some of the points the person collecting this zakah has to bear in mind. Also, it's not up to him. He's not the one who can come there and say, okay, now you give me this bint labun and then I'll give you this. No, the one giving the zakah will choose what he wants to give. That's up to him to choose. So again, to recap, we took zakah on horses, then we took zakah on mules and donkeys, and then we took what happens if a person is supposed to pay a certain age group, but he doesn't have. If he has higher, he can give it and get something in return, or if he has lower, he can give it and also pay something in return. And this is the Hanafi madhab, where they work out the difference in qima. And inshallah, as we'll take tomorrow, they have a much more lenient, a much broader scope when it comes to paying zakah bil qima. That's why even zakatul fitr or sadaqatul fitr, it's the only madhab where they allow. They say it's permissible for somebody to take out the zakatul fitr in monetary terms, whereas the other madhahib say that you must take out zakatul fitr in actual grain. Then inshallah, we've got about 2-3 masail left. Any questions with what we've taken? Umar?
You said if we have bint labun, but we're only supposed to pay bint makhad, then we pay bint labun and get the $1,000 remainder.
Yeah,
back.
So we look, yes.
Yes, let me complete my question. Can we pay like if we have bint labun, rather than paying my bint labun and getting 1,000 back, I can just pay the $1,000?
Inshallah, it will come. So it's a broad mas'ala where they're talking about daf'ul qima. Inshallah, we'll take it one time, because they're not only speaking about this, they also go to speak about sadaqatul fitr. The Hanafi madhab go as far as saying kaffarat. So kaffara, if a person has to give a kaffara, they can work it out and give it. So inshallah, we'll go through that tomorrow. Any other question? Also, you'll take a few masail which are a slight difference inside the madhab, where they say, for example, is zakah compulsory on the threshold and not the extra? In fact, I'll give you an example so you can understand. A person who has 8 camels, okay, how much zakah are they supposed to give?
1 sheep.
1 sheep, okay. Now, why we said the threshold here is from 5 up to 9. So are we going to say that when the person reached 5 camels, he pays zakah, 6 is not counted, 7 is not counted, 8 is not counted? Or do we say zakah is also included in these awqas, or what's called waqs? There's 2 opinions in the Hanafi madhab. So one of them says, no, you stop here. So if the person had 8, they all agree, if he has 8, he's paying 1 sheep. But then one opinion goes on to say that if these 3 had to die, for example, he's still on 1 sheep. Why? Because the minute he's got 5 sheep, then it's 1. So regardless of 5, 6, 7, 8, when he gets to 9, it will change. The other opinion says no. 1 sheep became compulsory on 8. However, if 3 had to die, they will go a little bit less than that. Inshallah, we'll take that tomorrow. These masail, which are a little bit more in-depth, a little bit more intricate, most of the time, you'll find there's a lot more difference of opinion in them, especially inside the madhab, before looking outside the madhab. But these are also the masail that not many people ask about. These are the masail that really happen. What you need to know is your rule, your principle, and these all now come to exceptions of the rule, or rare masail. Alam Gheer?
Sheikh, you mentioned about the mules and donkeys. So if they are kept for business purposes.
Yeah, business purposes, meaning a person, his job is he breeds donkeys and he buys and sells. He's always holding stock. He keeps 1,000 donkeys, and then next week he buys more, and then this week he's sold 500, and next week he's buying another 300, and like that. So you see, business is where you're buying and selling for a profit. That's how you can differentiate. Same when it comes to houses. A person is buying and selling. It carries on rotating. So what does that become? That becomes inventory. It becomes stock. Hence, you would pay zakah when you're calculating, because it's a business. So you calculate your gold and silver, your money, and you look at what stock you're holding. It's exactly the same if a person had a grocery store. What does a person who has a supermarket, what does he do? He buys and sells, gets milk today, he gets chips tomorrow, he gets bread the next day, then he buys it again, he buys it again, he buys it again. So same thing when it comes to those people who are selling, buying and selling animals, buying and selling camels, cows, etc. It comes under urud tijara. As for a person who's actually nurturing them and bringing them up and keeping them like a farmer just for milk and for reproduction. In those days, and even now when you come to rural Africa, a lot of the people they don't have farms which are commercial, which produce on a large scale. They have, it's just subsistence farming, where a person is keeping for himself and his family. So they're happy every year if they have 5 sheep, and then they increase to about 10 and 15 and 20, etc. So you find that those are the type of people paying zakah on zakah, what we're talking about. As for those who are using them strictly for business purposes, like people who sell meat, you need cows to be coming in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. You would pay a slightly different zakah on that. Inshallah, after this we'll move to Zuru' wa Thimar. We won't take long day, and then we'll move on to gold and silver, and then you move on to Zakatul Fitr, and then you move on to Ahlul Zakah, the people of Zakah, those who are deserving of Zakah. And with that, inshallah, your chapter of Zakah is complete. You would have gotten an understanding of the main masail in Kitab al-Zakah. Right, today we're supposed to speak about one of the names or two of the names of Allah. Today we want to speak about the name of Allah, Ar-Rahman, and his name Ar-Rahim. Generally they go hand in hand. So you find immediately when a person starts to do something, so much so some of the scholars say the first verse in the Quran is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, where a person starts in the name of Allah. Ar-Rahman, there's a few different ways of interpreting it. Generally I lean more towards Ar-Rahman is Allah himself is most merciful. And obviously Ar-Rahman, in Arabic they've got a rule where ziyadatul mabna tadullu ala ziyadatil ma'na. The more letters a word has, the more it's built up, the bigger its meaning. So if you look at Ar-Rahman, it's greater in the way it's wazn, etc., compared to Ar-Rahim. So Ar-Rahman has a greater meaning. That's why it's mentioned that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma says these are two names of Allah, Ismani Raqiqan, Ahaduhuma Araqqu min al-akhir. Both of them showing the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, one of them shows more mercy than the other. So one of the opinions is Ar-Rahman is Allah himself is merciful, and Ar-Rahim, his mercy reaches the creation. Second opinion, which you'll find in a lot of the books of tafsir, is Allah is Ar-Rahman, where he is merciful to everything. So human beings, those who believe in him, those who disbelieve in him, the animals, the ants, the insects, every single thing you can imagine, Allah is merciful towards it. And Allah has also placed mercy in these creatures' hearts as well as the way they behave. So that is Ar-Rahman, speaking about the fact that Allah is merciful to every living thing. And Ar-Rahim, it's mentioned that he has a special mercy for his believers. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. So that's a second opinion, and you'll find it a lot in the books of tafsir. After a person knows that Allah is Ar-Rahman and he is Ar-Rahim, what can you benefit from that? What does that lead us towards? What does that encourage us? What does that encourage us to do? Firstly, you realize that the being you worship, the one who you worship alone, he's more merciful to yourself than the most beloved people to you. So imagine how your mother looked after you, for example, your parents looked after you, your extended family, how they show mercy towards you. They don't want any harm to afflict you, anything they can do to make something easy for you. They want to see you prosper, etc. These are all human beings. Allah is more merciful to you than all these people put together. In fact, if you had to look at yourself, everybody wants goodness for themselves. Everybody wants mercy for themselves. Allah is more merciful towards you than your own self. So you think that, oh, this should be like this, and let me try and save myself from this, etc. And Allah is more merciful than yourself towards yourself. So sometimes you might think that something is good for you. For example, to go on a certain trip, this is good for me, or to marry a certain woman is good for me, or to get into a certain business dealing is good for me. And Allah, through His mercy, because He is the most merciful, times He may stop it and you don't realize why He stopped it. The minute you understand that from His names is Ar-Rahman, He is the most merciful, you realize that surely the one who I worship, I've put my trust in, is the most merciful towards me. He knows that which I don't know. He'll only choose that which is good for me. And whatever happens to a believer, which is good, and he's thanks Allah for it, he's rewarded. And it's good for him. And if something evil befalls him, again, he's happy with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he praises Him. Also from the name Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, we take hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We believe that no person should ever lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A Muslim who may have sinned, who may have oppressed themselves, who may have committed all forms of sin, when you want to return to Allah, Allah is there to accept your tawbah. Allah is the one who calls out to all those who've sinned. He says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Calling out to His servants, those who've exceeded the limits, those who've oppressed themselves. It says, don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you look at so many of the people in the Quran who are promised punishment, who are warned of a severe punishment, generally you find immediately after those verses, Allah calls them towards tawbah. So for example, when speaking about the hypocrites, Allah says, إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ. The hypocrites are in the lowest part of the fire, lowest of low. And immediately after that, He calls them towards tawbah, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا. Speaking about those who ascribe to Allah that which is not befitting of Him, those who said, Allah needs a father, or He needs a son, or He has a family, or He has a partner, etc. After reprimanding them and mentioning that it's kufr and it's shirk, etc., Allah says, أَفَلَا يَتُوبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَيَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Do they not turn back in tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek forgiveness for the sin they committed? And generally you find that's throughout the Quran. And that's why Allah says, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. His mercy encompasses every single thing. And the hadith is mentioned that the mercy of Allah precedes and overpowers His anger. So as believers, as Muslims, these are two names of Allah that always give us hope, that always keep us steadfast, that should always keep us positive, no matter what happens in life. Yes, it could be a sin that a person is involved in. At times it could be some worldly difficulty you're going through. You lose a loved one, you lost, when it comes to wealth, you lost a great amount of wealth. You could lose anything, but when you again ponder and reflect over the fact that Allah is Ar-Rahman, and as we'll take some of the other names, Allah is Al-Alim, He's the most knowledgeable, Al-Hakim, the most wise, etc. It helps you to submit, it helps you to calm down, it helps you to understand that this dunya is temporary, and there's definitely going to be tests. And that's why when you look at some of the stories of the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, Yaqub alayhis salam, he tells his children, imagine he's lost Yusuf, and for many years he grieves over him. and then he loses Binyamin, and then he loses the other son who doesn't want to come back. And then his children go and they tell him the story of how Ya Abana inna ibnaka saraq, your child has stolen, and that's why he's remained behind. And after all that hardship and calamity, he still tells his children, Ya bani yadhabu fatahassasu min Yusuf wa akhihi wa la tayasu min rawhillah. Go and search for Yusuf and his brother. Still go. And he says, wa la tayasu min rawhillah. Don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Only those who reject, those who disbelieve, those who don't know who is Allah, they are the ones who lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At times you find a person may be sick, they may be suffering, they may be terminally ill. Don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the fact that He can cure you. And at times you find that person may not be cured. It's not that Allah didn't have mercy on them. No. It's mentioned in other ahadith that at times Allah knows that this person, if he had to go through hardship and difficulty, it may cause him to disbelieve. So Allah makes it easy for him. And at times a person may, because of hardship and difficulty, or because of ease, they may disbelieve and exceed the limit. So Allah keeps that little bit of hardship and calamity. And generally you find that whenever a person goes through difficulty and hardship, they turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is all from His mercy and His love towards His believers and His creation. The creation, the believers. Any questions with what we've taken? Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. You find them together in the Quran in a lot of places. And if you have no questions, let's carry on here. Astaghfirullah. Also is mentioned in some ahadith that Allah created 100 rahmas, 100 pieces of mercy, portions of mercy, and He sent one down. And that is what everything uses to be merciful to each other, and from it is the animal that has mercy towards its young. And as for the other 99, Allah has kept for the day of Qiyamah. It's mentioned in hadith. It's also mentioned that it's also mentioned, or there's many hadith that speak about how Allah had mercy on certain people, even though they committed sins, and at times those sins were major. And at times Allah had mercy on people, even though they did small good deeds, but Allah accepted those good deeds. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Where did we stop here? أجب عن الأسئلة مستعينا بالصور. So here they ask you a question, and you have to give the answer according to the picture. Khaybar, let me ask you. First one, ما هوايتك?
هوايتي swimming.
طيب عالم غير. What's swimming?
هوايتي السباحة.
السباحة. أحسنت. طيب next who's here? عمر, هل لديك مكتبة؟
Translate please.
ها؟ طيب عالم غير, هل لديك مكتبة؟
نعم لدي مكتبة كبيرة.
أحسن. So they wanted to see, are you able to use these لديك and لدي? لديك, do you have? لدي, I have. طيب خيبر, كم ساعة تقرأ في اليوم؟
كم ساعة تقرأ؟ أقرأ أقرأ الساعة
They're asking you,
واحدة.
no, they're not asking you what time do you read. They're saying how many hours do you read a day?
1 hour.
كم ساعة؟ Sheikh, if it was 1 hour, then we won't be learning Arabic. Yeah? أقرأ. طيب عمر
الساعة
حاتم.
واحدة.
عمر.
أقرأ 3 ساعات في اليوم.
طيب أحسنت. Now they're asking about this guy. Look here. Who else is here? عمر المدني. ماذا يقرأ؟
يقرأ ما newspaper, how to say it in Arabic? I
طيب
forget it.
who knows?
الصحيفة.
الصحف.
أحسنت. يقرأ الصحيفة. ويقرأ الصحيفة. طيب أي جمعية تختار? Because you guys are still on level 1, so it's okay. Don't worry if you don't understand. For now it's okay. Just attend. You pick up a few things. أي جمعية تختار؟ علم غير.
أختار جمعية العلوم.
أحسنت. طيب ماذا تفعل في المكتبة؟ عمر. عمر from India. ماذا تفعل في المكتبة؟
The meaning yet of تفعل.
ها؟ ماذا تفعل means what do you do in the library? عمر المدني.
أنا أقرأ الكتاب.
أحسنت. أقرأ صحيح البخاري. أحسنت. طيب next this is التدريب الرابع. أكمل الحوار. أكمل means complete. So they are asking you and you give the answer, or they've given you the answer and you ask the question. So the first one says هل زرت معرض الهوايات؟ علم غير.
لا ما زرته.
أحسنت. well done. لا ما زرته. No, I didn't visit it. أميرة ما هوايتك؟ There's 2 Amiras. One participates and one doesn't. طيب. خيبر ما هوايتك؟
هوايتي أقرأ صحيفا. قراءة.
هوايتي القراءة. طيب أحسنت.
القراءة.
أقرأ في اليوم 3 ساعات تقريبا. What's the question? خيبر. خيبر.
كم تقرأ ساعة في اليوم؟
أي كم ساعة تقرأ في اليوم? How many hours do you read a day? طيب عالم غير. Right, between the other 3 who are not on this level, if you know the answer, put up your hand or you want to be asked. Otherwise, I'm asking خيبر and عالم غير. عالم غير. أقرأ الكتب الإسلامية. What's the question?
ماذا يقرأ؟
ماذا is asking you.
ماذا تقرأ؟
تقرأ. أحسن. طيب نعم لدي مكتبة كبيرة. What's the question خيبر?
هل لديك مكتبة؟
هل لديك مكتبة كبيرة? That's the question. Because he says نعم لدي مكتبة كبيرة. Yes, I have a big مكتبة. So he's asking, do you have a big مكتبة? أحسنت. طيب next one. التدريب الخامس. أكمل الحوار. علم غير. He says here هوايتي الرحلات والقراءة. What's the question?
ما هوايتك؟
أحسنت. Next one. خيبر. أقرأ الكتب الإسلامية والعربية.
هل تقرأ كتب الإسلامية والعربية؟
أحسنت.
Can you
well
say
done.
this?
Yeah. Or you can also ask him what's he reading. ماذا تقرأ? And he says أقرأ. And you can also ask him هل تقرأ? على مغير أقرأ 3 ساعات في اليوم.
كم ساعة تقرأ في اليوم؟
أحسنت. And can you see the difference between these two? أقرأ في اليوم, and here it says أقرأ 3 ساعات في اليوم. A slightly different way of saying it. طيب خيبر لا ما زرته هيا بنا إليه.
لا ما زرته هيا بنا إليه. لا, I didn't go.
No,
to
what's the
it.
question? What's the question?
Did you? So هل زرت
Yeah. معرض على مغير. Help him.
هل زرت معرض الهوايات؟
أحسنت. طيب على مغير أختار جمعية العلوم.
أي جمعية تختار؟
أحسنت. خيبر نعم أحب العلوم.
هل تحب العلوم؟
أحسنت. So look at how you've learned how to say أحب وأن تحب وأن أختار وأن يختار وأن تختار, etc. Now they're giving you a more challenging exercise. It says تبادل وصف الصور مع زميلك. It says that exchange with your classmate. And what's your exchange? What's your conversation about? It's about the description of these pictures. So I'm going to give you two minutes to think. Khaybar will be the first two. Alam Ghair the second two. If any others know the answer, put your hand up. I'll ask you. You can see in the first one, you've got a library, you've got a lot of books. Try and give me 3 or 4 sentences. Number 2, you've got a football pitch. You've got guys playing. Number 3, you've got an airport. And number 4, you've got people hiking. So they want you to describe. So tell me a little bit about the first picture, Khaybar. You could be going there, you could be doing something there, you could be asking somebody about something.
أنا طالب في الجامعة. أذهب إلى مكتبتي. Why?
إلى مكتبة الجامعة, for example.
إلى مكتبة الجامعة.
أحسنت. And if you want to stop on مكتبة, say I go to the library. إلى المكتبة. أحسنت.
لدي exam. لدي
اختبار.
لدي اختبار. ومكتبة كبيرة.
لدي is more like a possession. You can say عندي اختبار, for example. Carry on.
عندي اختبار. في مكتبتي plenty. So كتاب جدا. نعم.
عندي اختبار في كتاب الزكاة وأنا أقرأ شرح اللباب, شرح القدوري, for example. طيب عمر المدني, your hand was up. Give us the second one. Say I went to.
أنا أذهب نلعب كرة القدم.
طيب.
وأنا أحب كريستيانو رونالدو.
طيب غيرها يا الشيخ. say ذهبت إلى. What's the stadium they called in Medina? That one there. ذهبت إلى الاستاد, تمام, لكي أشاهد المباراة بين الفريقين, for example. بين المباراة كانت بين كلية الشريعة في الجامعة وكلية اللغة العربية, وفازت كلية الشريعة بهدف واحد, for example, by one goal. طيب number 3 عالم غير.
ما رأيك في الرحلات؟ Oh, we are doing the picture.
Yeah. Describe what's in the picture.
Um,
Say I went to the airport and tell me something about the airport.
أنا ذاهب إلى what do you say to the airport?
المطار.
Yeah, أنا ذاهب إلى المطار. وأنا
Say لكي أسافر إلى مكة, for example.
لكي أسافر إلى مكة
لكي وسافر
مع أسرتي. في الآن أنتظر في الطائرة.
طيب الآن سنجلس في الطائرة, for example.
Yeah.
طيب tell me that the airport is very big.
Yeah.
المطار.
Yeah. المطار كثير. المطار
كبير جدا.
كبير جدا.
أحسنت. طيب خيبر, last one.
Okay. أحب holidays. أحب في I went. So أذهب.
You see, you've got the habit. Hold on. You've got the habit of translating, even though you don't need to translate. But that's why you've got the habit. You've got to stop translating. For you, I don't want to hear one word in English anymore. Translate in your mind and bring it. Because if you're going to speak in English and then you're going to try to translate, you've got to slowly transition from translating everything to it just being your language. So if I tell you Jawwal, don't associate Jawwal to phone in English. No, just associate Jawwal to this, the picture of the phone. Associate Kitab. Don't say Kitab is a book in your mind. No, Kitab is this, finished. And it's a subtle transition you have to make in your mind. Then you'll be able to speak quickly. Tell me.
ذهب.
Say ذهبت, I went.
ذهبت معي أسرتي.
Oh no, okay. طيب. If you speak about your family, you can say ذهبت. Or أذهب مع أسرتي إلى البر, for example.
أسرتي إلى سويسرلاند. في سويسرلاند.
سويسرا.
في سويسرا كبير.
لا, في سويسرا means in Switzerland. What are you doing? Say نصعد is to ascend, to climb.
نصعد. How do you say mountain?
الجبال mountains.
نصعد جبال.
الجبال. أحسنت. طيب. I'm going to ask you again, this remind me, next week, make some sort of descriptions, write 3 or 4 sentences and memorize them and come back. طيب أجب عن الأسئلة التالية. عمر, ما هوايتك؟
هوايتي اقرأ.
هوايتي القراءة, reading.
القراءة.
أحسنت. هل تقرأ الصحف عمر؟
نعم.
Quickly, don't think.
أقرأ.
Just answer. نعم, أقرأ الصحف. طيب ما رأيك في الرحلات خيبر؟
الرحلات سبورت موحم.
الرحلات what?
It means swimming, isn't it? It's an important sport.
It says ما رأيك في الرحلات. What's your opinion?
What's your opinion about رحلات means swimming?
على مغير, ما رأيك في الرحلات؟
الرحلات صعبة. How do you say it's difficult?
طيب نعيم
صعب.
you coming ما رأيك في الرحلات؟ Answer anything.
Is that what's your opinion of sport?
No, رحلات are not sport. It's not sport.
Oh,
رياضة
traveling.
traveling or trips or outings. Tell me they're good, for example. Because ما رأيك في الرحلات؟
رحلات أحسن.
الرحلات جميلة جدا for example. طيب نعيم، هل لديك مكتبة؟
لدي مكتبة كبيرة.
كبيرة، أحسنت.
كبيرة.
You've got one of your speakers on, so you can carry on hearing you saying the same thing. هل تحب السباحة؟ عالم غير.
نعم أحب السباحة.
look at here. سين got a كسرة. You guys haven't been revising. Now we must only speak in Arabic in the lesson from tomorrow. Next week, remind me. Next week is your guys' lesson. طيب خيبر، ماذا تفعل في المكتبة؟
أقرأ كتابا.
أحسنت. أقرأ الكتابة وأقرأ كتب. أقرأ الكتب. كم ساعة تقرأ في اليوم خيبر؟
أقرأ 3 ساعات في اليوم.
3 ساعات في اليوم. طيب في أي جناح الكتب كتبه علم غير؟
في جناح في جناح التدوير المنزلي.
طيب ماشي. You're asking about the book, you're saying where is it? هل تهوى الحاسوبة؟ نعيم، هل تهوى الحاسوبة؟
I'm not sure on this one, Sheikh.
خيبر، هل تهوى الحاسوبة؟ Now you don't say I'm not sure. Now you must say ما أدري, which means I don't know. You guys need to start speaking Arabic now slowly. طيب هل تهوى الحاسوبة؟
الحاسوب.
تهوى، ما معنى تهوى؟
like.
لا أدري.
يعني like. أحسنت. طيب عالم غير، هل تهوى الحاسوبة؟
نعم أهوى الحاسوبة.
أحسن. طيب ماذا تقرأ عالم غير؟
أقرأ القرآن والصحيفة.
لماذا تقرأ القرآن؟ لأنه كلام الله for example.
هوايتي.
لا لأنه كلام الله.
لأنه كلام الله. أحب
أحسنت.
كلام الله.
كلام الله. أحب كلام الله. متى تقرأ القرآن نعيم؟ متى تقرأ القرآن؟
في الصباح.
أحسن. أقرأ القرآن في الصباح. هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة خيبر؟ هل الكتب يعني في سؤال، هل الكتب كتاب كتب هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة؟
ما معنى مفيدة؟
مفيدة يعني فيها فائدة. فائدة
يعني
ما معنى
فيها.
فائدة؟
ما معنى فائدة؟
عمر من الهند، هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة؟
نعم مفيدة.
عالم غير، هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة؟
نعم كل كتب جميعها مفيدة.
طيب الكتاب الذي يتحدث عن الشرك؟
استغفر الله. لا مفيدة.
يقول هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة؟ نعيم، هل الكتب جميعها مفيدة؟
لا.
Are they asking all books are beneficial?
So they're saying, are all books beneficial? You can say either or. You just support your opinion. هل زرت معرض الكتاب خيبر؟ خيبر، هل زرت معرض الكتاب؟
زرت معرض الكتاب. Did you visit معرض
طيب على مغير،
الكتاب؟
هل زرت معرض الكتاب؟
نعم زرته معرض الكتاب.
زرت معرض الكتاب أو نعم زرته. for example. أي جمعية تختار نعيم؟ أختار
السلفاحة. I don't know. I'm not sure.
طيب على مغير، أي جمعية تختار؟
أختار جمعية العلوم.
أحسن. طيب أي الكتب تفضل خيبر؟ Here, look, I teach you something very easy. Look here. Wherever the verb is, the question and then there's a verb, use the verb to start the response. So, أي جمعية تختار, asking which جمعية are you choosing. So, أختار. أي الكتب تفضل, which books do you prefer? أفضل. Can you see? Where is the verb? Start with the verb to answer.
أفضل.
Example, كم ساعة تقرأ في اليوم؟ أقرأ so much. ماذا تفعل؟ أفعل. هل تحب؟ أحب. Carry on.
أفضل كتاب الإسلامية.
أفضل الكتب الإسلامية. أحسنت. طيب إن شاء الله we stop there. Can you see these exercises are getting longer and longer? But this is because they know that you understand a lot of what you're saying now. They want you to start speaking a lot more and to start understanding what you're speaking about. So here they're giving you a small comprehension and then you answer. Next one also same thing. Next one same thing. Next one same thing. Then you've got small exercises and then here's that exam that always used to come where they're giving you an exam to test you, and then you've got a safar. So a cruise liner there. Maybe inshallah we'll take this next week. Any questions with what we've taken? If you guys
شيخ ما جوابك في السؤال ما رأيك في الرحلات؟
Hey, ما رأيك? They're asking like what's your opinion? Your opinion can be anything. الرحلات جميلة جدا. أحب الرحلات. ما أحب الرحلات, for example. Anything. All these questions are open-ended question. You can answer with whatever you want to answer. هل لديك مكتبة؟ نعم لدي مكتبة. لا, I don't have a مكتبة. نعيم.
Ashok, just a quick one. What does dahwa mean again?
Dahwa is to like from hawa. It's not generally used a lot today. It's like saying هل تحب الحسب. But dahwa is a little bit more than like. It's like
Love.
Yeah, well, not to love, but you could say somewhere between like and love.
Okay.
There's an ayah in the Quran that speaks about it has
I think this is useful.
Huh?
Yes, I said to learn spoken Arabic, I think the best way we can do is by speaking. Because whenever I take notes, it doesn't stick in my mind, but when I get corrected, it stays.
Yeah, you have to speak and make mistakes.
I would suggest after you finishing the asking question and answer, you just repeat the meaning of it once so that the old students can also remind themselves and the new students can learn new things.
Which meaning?
Meaning the exercise what we took today.
Which meaning?
Like meaning of the question, what they're asking.
No, they are at a level where they must know what it means. They must only be corrected once. You guys, where you are, that's why they take you step by step in the book. They take you step by step, so you're able to. Then when you get here, you don't need somebody to repeat it in English. You see, There's the ayah in Surah An-Najm. إن يتبعون إلا الظن وما تهوى الأنفس. You must go and find out the meaning of that verse, Khaybar, and come and tell me. It's Surah An-Najm, verse number 23. Go see what's who asked about Tahwa. Naeem, also you go and find out. Surah An-Najm, 27th juz, verse 23. إن يتبعون إلا الظن وما تهوى الأنفس. Then you won't forget Tahwa. Naeem, your question?
No question, Sheikh.
Okay, your hand was up.